On the north bank of the Fraser River in Richmond, British Columbia, lies a very unusual and historic fishing village. It's the last of its kind to exist on this 854-mile-long river. Finn Slough was established in the 1880s by immigrants from Finland who settled here to fish and make a living. They were also fleeing poverty and oppression from the Russian Empire. When the settlers arrived, what is now the city of Richmond had not been cleared. It was still dense bush. The men had worked as coal miners and loggers, and saved money to buy the land a half-mile from the river on Finn Road. The land they had purchased had a slough coming off the river, and they were able to bring their boats a half-mile up to their houses. But there was a problem. The cropland would flood with the tides and the storms. They ended up damming off the slough to protect their farmland. As a result, they had to find another place to moor their boats. They started using Tiffin Slough, now renamed Finn Slough, as a safe harbor. As more immigrants heard about the incredible fishing along the Fraser River, they came to British Columbia for this opportunity. But they didn't have the same savings. So they started building their houses in the slough, putting them on stilts or floats above the marshy banks of this powerful and unpredictable river. At its peak, it had many more households. By the mid-1900s, it was a large settlement. Today, only a small number of residents remain. The village still has residents who live year-round, and some traditional fishing activities continue. The community is connected by a network of elevated boardwalks and walkways. The buildings are a mix of historic houses, old fishing sheds, boats, and workshops. Many are over 100 years old. The area is recognized for its cultural and historic value, and a reminder of the early settler life and fishing culture in the region. Finn Slough feels like a tiny fishing village frozen in time, a contrast to the modern city nearby. The village started forming during the Fraser River salmon boom. The Finns were already experienced with cold climates, boats, nets, and river living, which made the Fraser River a natural fit. At its height in the early 1900s to the 1930s, Finn Slough was a busy, practical place. Families lived in tiny homes, often self-built. Children grew up on boats and boardwalks. Fishing boats were tied directly to houses, and nets were repaired on porches. Fishing sheds, smokehouses, and storage shacks lined the slough. Residents primarily fish salmon, supplying canneries along the Fraser, including at Steveston. This was commercial fishing at a household level, not an industrial operation. Living at Finn Slough was not romantic. There was no running water or sewer, limited electricity, flooding during high tides and storms, and winters could be brutal on floating homes. While it's called Finn Slough, the area around it included Finnish, Japanese, Scandinavian, and Eastern European settlers, and later a mix of artists, boat builders, and retirees. The Fraser River was one of the most multicultural working rivers in Canada at the time. Several forces hit Finn Slough hard after the 40s and 50s. The industrialization of fishing led to the start of the decline of this incredible settlement. Larger boats, centralized processing, changes to fishing licenses brought restrictions that made small operations less viable, and the nearby town of Richmond was being diked, drained, and developed. Younger generations moved away, and by the 70s and 80s, Finn Slough was shrinking fast. Many similar river communities were wiped out. Finn Slough survived because the land was awkward to develop, and residents fought eviction and rezoning. A small but determined group of people maintained these homes and walkways. Finn Slough was the informal river village. There was no town planning, no grid, and no services. It stayed small because it was marshy land and hard to drain, and it was never officially incorporated into a village. The result was it was never modernized. It survived only because it was too awkward to erase. This is what fishing life looked like before cities stepped in. Fishing, particularly salmon fishing, shaped daily life and economic survival. The seasonal nature of the work meant long hours during peak runs and financial uncertainty during off seasons. Despite these challenges, families remained, rebuilt after damage, and continued to maintain their homes in an environment that offered little margin for error. The longevity of Finn Slough is directly tied to the determination of the early residents. Their willingness to adapt to environmental conditions, maintain essential structures, and pass down practical knowledge allowed the community to persist for decades. What remains today is the result of that sustained effort, a rare example of a working river settlement that has endured through the change in economic and regulatory landscape. I got curious and I looked up the property value. And as of 2026, Finn Slough is worth $796,000. It's clear this humble fishing village is more than just a place. It's a reminder of the value of heritage, community, and connection to the land. As Richmond grows and changes, we can hope that Finn Slough continues to be cherished and preserved. If you like this story about Finn Slough, consider learning more, visiting respectfully, and supporting initiatives that protect heritage sites like this. Together we can help ensure that Finn Slough remains a living story, not just a memory.